Hello, welcome to my channel, another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am going to do the Rapid Fire Book Tag. This tag has been out for a while, but I wanted to do something pretty quick and easy today. So here we go. Prompt number 1, ebook or physical book? I actually like them both. I primarily read ebooks nowadays, but if you look behind me, you see many books in physical format. So it's quite obvious that I don't have a problem with physical books. Paperback or hardback? I actually prefer hardcover. They feel very nice and sturdy and firm in my hands, and they look very good on the shelf. And you can see over there are all my hardback books. Paperback books do have their place, and I do enjoy them, and that preference for hardcover is really very minor. Online or in-store shopping? I love browsing a good bookstore, not Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble sometimes has some books that are worth looking at, but very rarely. There's an old bookstore in Seattle called Elliott Bay Books, which is just fantastic. There used to be a used bookstore in New York called The Strand. I believe it is still there. That is also fantastic. Down where I live now in Fredericksburg, Virginia, there's not a whole lot of bookstores. There's one used bookstore in downtown Fredericksburg, which is pretty good. Their selection is not extensive, though. Other than that, we just have a Barnes & Noble, and, Barnes & Noble, why bother? So, online. Trilogies or series? I have a problem with series. Series can go on too long, and series don't always necessarily tell a cohesive story. What I really dislike are episodic character series. And everyone knows that. Let's just pick a mystery where you have a detective. He solves a crime in book B. Book A, the detective solves a crime. Book C, the detective solves a crime. And you can read them in any order. I do not like series like that. The series needs to tell a cohesive story pretty much in linear fashion, unless you're getting really experimental, but I don't know of any experimental series. So let's go with trilogies. And trilogies that tell a complete story, and I'm totally fine with an incomplete ending at the end of the first book of a trilogy or the second book. Heroes or villains? Villains. Heroes are boring. Sorry, heroes that save the day. They're extremely dull. I don't care a whit about them. But villains can be interesting. A book you want everyone to read? J.R. by William Gaddis. This is one of those books that totally floored me when I read it for the first time this year. Just a magnificent book. It is difficult. It is 770 pages long. It has no chapter breaks. Recommend an underrated book. Let's go with Gunwork by David J. Shao. This is from the Hard Case Crime series. It was just a fascinating story of a gunman who got into a little bit of difficulties. I won't say what those difficulties are, but this cover has the most fabulous spoiler of any artwork of any book I've ever seen. And you have to read the book to pick up on the spoiler. And it's not the fabulous redhead. The last book you finished, American Roe. This is a biography of Jane Roe of the Roe versus Wade Supreme Court case. It is a fascinating book. I will be doing a mini review for nonfiction November. The last book that you bought. That's difficult to say. I'm not sure if this is the exact last book that I bought, but very close to it. This is a copy of an anthology of bad verse called The Stuffed Owl. Now most of this bad verse is 19th century, 18th century, and some 17th century. There's not a whole lot of 20th century. I don't know if there is any 20th century, so, but I have not read a lot of this, but one of the last books that I bought. Weirdest thing you used as a bookmark? I'm pretty boring. That would probably be a subway ticket. Somewhere over there in my science fiction book collection, there is a book with a DC Metro ticket with about 25 cents on it. It's had those 25 cents for probably more than 20 years and probably no good anymore. Used books. Yes or no? Yes, I do like used books, but I like my used books in fairly decent condition. I remember Vin at Referent Reads made a comment that he hates annotations in books. And I have to say, I totally agree. Anyone who writes in a book is damaging that book and destroying that book. So please do not write in your books. But yes, on used books. Top 3 favorite genres. I like, let's just say literary fiction. I know that's sort of hard to define. Just say it's fiction as opposed to genre fiction. Second, I would probably say I like crime books, especially the hard-boiled and noir crime books. And third would be nonfiction. I'm especially fond of biographies, at least now. If you had asked me this question when I was a teenager, you would have gotten very different answers. One of those would have been a science fiction and fantasy and horror, probably as a teenager. Borrow or buy? I like to buy. I do borrow from a library occasionally. Just this week, I did borrow a book, Burning Boy by Paul Auster. This is a biography of Stephen Crane. I started reading it and realized that I would never be able to finish this book by the time the book is due because I'm reading a couple other books at the same time. I'm reading 2666 by Bolaño and The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. And I had to fit some novellas in there for Novella November. So I'm not going to be able to finish my library copy. I'm probably going to buy an audiobook copy of that one. So definitely buy. Characters or plot. It depends on the book that you are reading. I would say characters for literary fiction. For crime fiction, that might be going more towards plot. Long or short books? I like them both. How can you pick? I mean, obviously I read a lot more short books because they're easier to just finish, and a long book takes quite a bit of commitment. But books like J.R. by Gaddis, it's immensely satisfying to finish a long book. Long or short chapters, again, I can go either way. Some books are more suitable to long chapters and some are more suitable to short chapters, that depending on what you are reading. Again, crime novels, the short chapters work very well in those kind of books. Biographies and literary fiction, sometimes the long chapter works a lot better. Name the first 3 books that you can think of. Well, I'm looking at 2 books in front of me. Burning Boy by Paul Auster, the biography of Stephen Crane. I have already mentioned that one. I'm also looking at Night Flight by Saint Dupree. He's the author of The Little Prince. That's my next novella that I'm going to read. And The Hearing Trumpet, right over here. This is a surrealist novel, and I don't know why I thought of that. Books that made you laugh or cry. I don't cry when reading books. Some books do make me laugh. A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy O'Toole comes to mind as books that definitely make me laugh. Another books that make me laugh are the Flashman series by George MacDonald Fraser. Horribly politically incorrect, but they're supposed to be politically incorrect. But absolutely hilarious. Our world or fictional worlds? I can go for both. I definitely read a lot more about our world. I do read some science fiction of alternate worlds. Great ones are like Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Her world was totally fascinating. Other worlds like fantasy, I don't read a lot of fantasy, but some science fiction other worlds are great. Audiobooks, yes or no? An absolute yes on audiobooks. A great portion of my reading life is devoted to audiobooks. I started 1998, maybe earlier, I can't remember, but I've been reading audiobooks for a long time. I have read close to 1,000 audiobooks over the many years, and that's more books than the average American will ever read in a lifetime. So yes on audiobooks. Do you ever judge a book by its cover? Yes. When I went to Portland a few months ago, I sought out their pulp cover section. And I was buying a lot of those books just because the covers were fabulous and pulpy and weird. And I'll probably never read one of those, but they're fun to look at, like little pieces of cheesy art. Book to movie or TV adaptations? I have to say I'm not a big fan of most adaptations. If you had to give me an adaptation, I'd probably say do a book to movie adaptation because it's shorter. I don't want to invest all the time in these TV adaptations that go on for multiple years and just 60, 70, 80 hours of TV watching. No, not for me. A movie or TV show you preferred to its book? I can think of Das Boot, the German movie, is one of my all-time favorite movies that I've ever seen. I tried to read the book in the 80s, shortly after seeing the movie, and I never finished the book. So I'm going to say Das Boot. Our series or standalone? Well, I've already mentioned that I just really don't get into series, so standalone is my answer. And that is the end of the Rapid Fire Book Tag. I'm trying to think if there's anyone who hasn't done this. And I don't think Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics have done it. I don't think Sandy at Miss Reads a Lot has done it. And Shelley Swearingen. I don't think she's done that. So those are the three people that I tag. If you don't want to do it, don't bother. It's an old tag, so please feel free to ignore. But thank you and have a good day. Goodbye.